Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over 3 brand new volume 1s that I recently read and give you my first impressions. Let's get started. The first book that we're going to talk about comes to us from the folks at Seven Seas Entertainment, and it is the first volume of My Dear Detective Mitsuko's Case Files. This is written and drawn by Natsumi Ito. I was very much looking forward to this. As soon as it was announced, it had a very solid premise. We follow the character of Hoshino Mitsuko, a determined detective in the 1920s Japan. This is fresh off the Taisho era and entering the Showa era. What is fascinating about this is the transition that takes place between the two eras as Japan was becoming more and more modernized and more Western influenced. And you see that, of course, in this time period with the technology at the time, the way of thinking, the way the characters are dressed, and most importantly, how women decided to take a more active role in society and work. Now, if we were to dissect what is happening, that cultural shift, it would take a whole video essay, an hour-long thesis that I don't want to get into. Instead, we're going to focus on the manga. Mitsuko is a character that is a rare breed at the time. She is wanting to be her own self and not follow the norm at the time, which had women, unfortunately, just staying at home and not being able to participate because of the huge amounts of misogyny and sexism at the time. Instead, Mitsuko, who comes from a prestigious family where her father is a cop, since she couldn't become a cop herself, she decided to work as a detective, solving cases in this time period. One particular day, she is approached by a handsome waiter called Yoshida Saku, who presents Mitsuko with her very first solo case. And that sort of kicks off the adventure here for My Dear Detective. Of course, this being a detective series, most of the stories presented here are individual cases that may or may not take 1 or 2 chapters to solve. And in the meantime, as we find the resolution for each case, we learn more about the 2 main characters, their motivations, their goals in life, as sort of the chemistry and bond grows between the 2 of them. One of my favorite aspects when I started reading this book is the quieter scenes in the manga, specifically towards the beginning, where you have Mitsuko reflecting on the era and how she's able to behave, whether it be by the nature of her job or the way she's treated by other people at the start of the story. She feels suffocated in an era where people were starting to feel much livelier. I thought that contrast was pretty interesting, and it really set the tone and pace for her journey through these first 5 or so chapters. Of course, the character of Saku, a bit of a playboy at the beginning, but you know that as soon as you meet him, there's more than meets the eye when it comes to characters like this. And I could go into spoilers, but let's just say he comes from a prestigious family, and he's sort of the bane of their existence, the black sheep, if you will, and he's moving at his own pace, doing what he loves. He's a little mischievous when it comes to crime solving and definitely enjoys teasing our main protagonist, but also earnestly helping her solve these cases, which, by the way, aren't the most complex things in the world, and that can be a good thing. If you are a hardcore mystery fan that you want to solve these cases along with the protagonist, I think you'll have a fun time, but your brain might not be as challenged as with other series out there or novels. This is much more relaxed. The stories, they move at a fairly quick pace, which I enjoyed. The glowing aspect for this series that I absolutely loved is the artwork. I love the attention to detail to all the facial expressions, even the background characters. Everything about it is very rich and detailed, beautiful, soft-spoken at times. When there's a flashback, you see the tone, how it shifts to a much more lighter shading. Mitsuko's expressions are fantastic. She is awesome. I love how inquisitive she is, but also retains her sense of humor and how she strives to become a better detective and sort of work to dispel the idea that just because she's a woman, she can't do X or Y thing. And I think that's a theme, a topic that is very relevant to anybody out there in the world that has faced criticism for the way they are, the way they behave, and to look at characters like this is very awesome, very inspirational, and I hope you give it the attention it deserves. I think this is one of the best mystery releases for the year when it comes to manga. The next one on the list, Lycoris Recoil. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. This is a very interesting manga. First of all, a huge shout out to the folks at Yen Press for sending me a copy so that I could talk to you guys about it. This manga is based on the anime of the same name, which came out, I want to say 2023. It is written by Spider Lily with art by Yasunori Bizen. So what the heck is this manga about? We follow these two characters. They are Lycoris. They are essentially schoolgirls trained to be top-notch assassins. They're part of this elaborate Japanese agency program that trains these girls to be top killers to defend the nation from homegrown threats as well as from afar. They take care of terrorists and all the crime in the country of Japan, but nobody knows about them. So when the story begins, we're following the team of girls as they are on this particular case. There's a arms deal taking place with some terrorists, some shady people, and the character of Takina. She is a little hot-headed. She's cool, calm, and collected, but at the same time faced with this scenario where one of the agents, one of the girls, has been captured and they're using her as a hostage in this thing. She takes matters into her own hands and with a freaking machine gun just plows everybody and takes care of all the bad guys, killing them on the spot, endangering the agent, but luckily she survives with no harm, probably more on the psychological side, but no physical harm. And Takina ends up being scolded by her superiors and is sent to work in a cafe that's actually doubling as an outpost for the agency with a particular crew of former agents like Chisato. Takina doesn't want to be there. Chisato is extremely bubbly and adorable, extroverted, wholesome girl that has a very interesting past that slowly throughout the chapters you will start to learn about and actually encompasses the majority of the plot of Lycoris Recoil. One of the biggest aspects here is, of course, the fact that it's cute girls doing odd things. In this case, just being badasses and murdering bad guys. Chisato has a no-kill clause, which I thought was pretty interesting, that she has like special bullets that when they impact the victim, it just like chalk or red powder comes out imitating blood. I'm pretty sure you can use that to psychologically torture the other bad guys or something like that. But I'm on a tangent. What I wanted to say is that this manga is a lot of fun. The dynamic between the two characters takes a little bit to get going, but it's there and it's cute and wholesome, fun, and when the action happens, it is awesome. Super high energy, intense. The dialogue is very fast paced. If you enjoy stories like the John Wick franchise where it has high octane, quick paced violence and epic stunt work and stuff like that, I think you'll be right at home with Lycoris Recoil. The art is great. It perfectly captures the essence of the anime without going overboard or under. It's just a proper adaptation of the show. If I remember correctly, both the manga and anime started roughly around the same time, so it's more of just experiencing the anime through manga format. So thank you to Yen Press for surprising me with this volume. Now I'm happy that I can own Lycoris Recoil in some shape or form, and the manga, I think, does a really good job of adapting what we have seen with the show. Obviously some of the fluidity with the action scenes are missing, but you know, that's because of the nature of the medium, you know, that one being animated and now here with sequential art in pages can be a little bit different, but the essence is there, like I mentioned, and the dynamic between the two characters is the main role here to get you hooked on this series, and I promise you it's a lot of fun. It's a very quick read, very fast paced, but keep up with it and you'll be rewarded with some fun action goodness. Last but not least, Otaku Vampire's Love Bite. This is by Julieta Suzuki, and this is from the same creator as Kami-sama Kiss. I wanted to point that out. It's on the blurb on the back of the book. Might as well mention it for fans of Kami-sama Kiss, right? So we follow the character of Hina Arukado. She is a modern vampire that lives in Central Europe, and she is an otaku. She doesn't partake in feeding off of humans. She thinks that is so old-fashioned and not really in with the current trend scene within the vampire community, I guess. So she decides to just consume blood via the blood packets, and she's a bit of a recluse. She's an introverted, wholesome girl. Her dad, I assume, judging from this first volume, we don't know too much about her dad. He's mostly kept in the shadows, but you get the sense that he's a pretty influential vampire. He is upset that his daughter might not be socializing, might not be doing well mentally, so he's very supportive and actually introduces her to anime, specifically the DVD for the Vampire Cross anime. Hina is absolutely hooked, and she becomes an otaku, super fangirl, and decides to move from her home to Japan into an apartment and live out her fantasy of just experiencing anime and the hobby and collecting and bonding with people, in this case other fans of the show, etc., etc. But when she goes to Japan, I believe she only has one friend who she chats with online and doesn't really know too much aside from her apartment and going out at night. So fortunately, one of the characters introduced is her neighbor Kyuta. Kyuta happens to look like Hina's favorite character from the Vampire Cross anime, so you can imagine her excitement. This is one of my favorite aspects of the manga. Just the pure joy that she experiences from her hobby reminded me of why I like this stuff so much, why I enjoy comics, manga, video games, anime, the escapism, but also how these things can teach us about life while entertaining us. I love that stuff. And the collecting aspect, I appreciate that she's a bit of a hoarder. I'm a bit of a hoarder with all the books that I have. I have so many books. They don't fit anywhere, but I keep getting them, right? We've all experienced these things before. Buying duplicate items and not wanting to trash them because one is for the collection, the other one is to potentially sell off, is something that I think every collector can relate to some degree. Now, very early on in the manga, during the first chapter, so technically is not a huge spoiler, but if you don't want to find out about Hina's true self, then skip this part a couple minutes ahead. But do know that there's more to her than just being an otaku. She does have a massive reveal early on in the series, which I really loved and immediately made me a fan of this series. And now I'm waiting for volume 2 to continue reading it. So it turns out that Hina is part of that hierarchy of vampires, of like super strong vampires. Kyota, the neighbor, he lives with somebody else. We don't see that character, but you hear him and he's always begging and calling for Kyota. Eventually, due to some hijinks of being a fangirl, she wants to go outside. I believe it was to see an area that was used as an inspiration for the vampire anime that she loves. And the other person that lives with Kyota appears and actually stabs Hina. Turns out it's another vampire. There are other vampires in Japan, but they are confusing Hina as a threat, as a predator that wants to take their prey. Vampires work in a hierarchy system, and the strongest one will make the others kneel and obey. And it just so happens that Hina is on the top of the food chain, if you will, and she is extremely influential and powerful, but that doesn't define her. What defines her is her wholesomeness and the fact that she geeks out about pop culture and is friendly towards people. She's a bit naive and doesn't know not to trust every single human out there. Those are the traits which are more admirable than whatever the vampire stuff is, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was awesome. It was funny, quirky. I love her personality and I love the art too. It's simple but very cute, and Hina is so expressive impressive, even with her glasses, even with her pointy ears and the blushing in her cheeks whenever something amazing happens, that you immediately love this character and you want to follow her adventures. It's very addicting. So in that regard, yeah, she's very influential. Like a typical vampire, she can influence you into reading more about her. I thought that was pretty badass. So overall, did I like this? Yes, absolutely. I am a huge fan of vampires. I love all, when it comes to horror, I love all the creature stuff, vampires, ghouls, zombies, werewolves, all that jazz. And when you can remix all these classic characters into new archetypes, into new story elements, that's a win-win for me. So yeah, I was right at home here with Otaku Vampires Love Bite. This is actually one of my favorite reads of the year, if you can believe it. So definitely do check it out if you are in the mood for something fun, different, exciting, funny, all those combined. I think it's pretty awesome. By the way, this is a Viz Media Shoujo Beat release. I should have mentioned that earlier as well. So there it is, folks. 3 brand new volume 1s. I wanted to keep it short. I don't know if I should be including multiple volume 1s and make it a super long video. Maybe some people will enjoy that. Others might not. Might be a little bit too long. Audience retention. You know that stuff. You gotta please everybody. But I really enjoyed these 3 volume 1s. I will be coming out with more videos soon talking about other series. So let me know if you enjoyed this video down below. And if you've read these 3 books, let me know down below which one was your favorite. So with all of that out of the way, thank you everybody for liking, commenting, subscribing, and being a part of Manga Geekdom. I truly do appreciate it. I do have a Discord server if you want to join. Free for everybody. You can join, hang out with a bunch of awesome people talking about all the nerdy stuff you could want, from games to movies to anime, manga, comics, what have you. So the link is down below if you want to check it out. Thank you once again. God bless. Stay safe out there. I will catch all of you on our next video.